Hello, and welcome back to Topics of Impact. My name is Matt Pettinelli. I'm your host, as well as the founder and CEO of CapGrow Partners. Topics of Impact brings executives and professionals from the behavioral health industry together to discuss topics and subjects that are typically held behind closed doors and in boardrooms. Today, we're pleased to have Patrick Maynard from Boundless with us on the show. Patrick, welcome.
Thanks, Matt. Glad to be here.
We're glad to have you. All right, Patrick, before we kick it off, we have a tradition of letting people get to know you a little bit. Are you ready to go through a speed round of questions?
Sure, let's do it.
All right, here we go. What is your job title?
I am president and CEO of I Am Boundless and our related affiliates.
Which city and state do you live in?
I live in Worthington, Ohio, which is a suburb of Columbus.
What's the favorite part of your job?
The favorite part of my job, Matt, is working with our leadership team. I think we have one of the best, most innovative, creative teams in our marketplace, and they really keep driving me to continually improve myself.
What's your favorite city to visit?
I'm going to cheat a little bit and do a town, Hanalei, Kauai.
What's your favorite restaurant?
I'm going to say the Girl and the Fig.
Do you have any pets?
I do. I have a double doodle.
What's your favorite sports team?
Oh, it's got to be the Ohio State Buckeyes.
Are you a beach or mountains guy?
I'm just going to say both.
Okay, fair. That's okay. What do you like to do in your free time?
I'm an avid reader.
Thanks, Patrick. I appreciate you taking the time to answer those questions for us. All right, on to our first topic, 2020. It seems like we can't get away from it. Patrick, what did you see in your organization? How did you all pivot to react to the pandemic and the ever-changing landscape of trying to navigate 2020?
The main challenges that we faced in 2020, and I think any other organization in our field, first of all, was just surviving that chaos. The first couple months where nobody knew what was going on, nobody knew what the pandemic, what that meant, what is COVID, and there was a lot of fear. So we had to kind of survive that first stage, but then we entered into the longer term stage of, dealing with interruptions of service and reimbursement, and that's where I think everybody took the biggest hit, and it's a continuing hit.
So for groups that lacked the resources that Boundless has and have at their fingertips, and the connections and network you have, what did you see from those organizations? Are they still reeling from the pandemic in 2020, or have they found new ways to operate and are getting back on their feet?
I could tell you just in Ohio, where we are, over 200 of our peer organizations that provide a lot of day services are not in business anymore. I think the pandemic really accelerated some of what was a lot of organizations living hand to mouth anyways. And then you add a pandemic on top of that and interruptions in revenue. So I think a lot of organizations are really, really struggling right now. Organizations like us, we did pivot those types of services that we had, the traditional types of services, face-to-face and a lot of people in one place. Those had to stop. The interesting things is that we were in the process of trying to transition those programs out anyways. That just helped us move that along faster, and then refocusing on new things like technology. We had a sort of a beginnings of teleservices, virtual services. The pandemic just kicked that off. That's really taken over, and it's going to become a major part of our future, and I'm sure the future of a lot of other organizations too.
So what were some of the main attributes or strategy moves that you made in 2020 to keep Boundless going at the top of its game and really trying to prepare for coming out of 2020?
That's a good question. I think, again, looking back, we had to go from a survival type mode where you're sort of closing in and trying to protect everything you have. You can only do that so long. And you needed to break out of that. We broke out of that as soon as we could, and then really started focusing and emphasizing on what is the future, what is post-COVID going to look like, and how do we position ourselves to be able to leap into that? How do we take scarce resources or limited resources and put them where they need to be to get into that new world going forward. I think that's very critical to be able to move through those stages. Don't stay in that survival mode. You really have to position yourself for that new world that's coming up.
Well, it speaks volumes to you as a leader, a CEO, but most importantly, the management team that you've built to recognize
Right.
areas of crisis and to not be afraid to move forward. I'm, give you guys a lot of praise for what you've done for adjustment.
Well, thanks. I keep going back to the pandemic as an accelerator. I think our organization already was well known for innovation and creativity. That's really a part of our culture.
Sure.
And when times get hard, I think it's kind of natural sometimes to try to hold on to what you have. But for us, we see that as opportunity, and hope other organizations really look at it that way also. It's time to rid yourself of things that weren't working well and were holding you back, and to really focus your resources on what really accelerates your mission. What are the winners in your services and programs, and focus on those and invest in those.
Absolutely. Could not agree more. All right. On to our second topic, expansion.
Right.
What is your forecast for 2021? Do you see opportunity more in this year than last year? You noted that Ohio, a number of providers just were probably not able to make it through, or
Right.
are beginning to wonder if they're going to be able to survive in the new year. What are your thoughts?
We really see the opportunities around the pandemic for utilizing technology, virtual services, really like I said, positioning yourself to the new post-pandemic reality. There's going to be different demands from customers. There's going to be a lot more competition out there. The other side of this for us also is, I'm a very vocal, Matt, this, I'm a very vocal proponent of collaborating and organizations coming together to form stronger capacity and volume. And I think that, again, with the pandemic as an accelerator, organizations need to seriously look at this. This is the time to really look at how can you become stronger? How can you have more volume? How can you have more capacity, which allows you to be innovative and creative going forward? This is the time to really look at, does coming together with another organization or several organizations, is this the time to create something that's stronger and has more opportunity? I think this is the time for that. This is really the accelerator that I think that's going to kick that off even more.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. Collaboration is key. No one has all the answers, and it's learning from your peers and being comfortable to share your weaknesses, but also being comfortable to share your successes so that everyone can learn from one another. That's the only way the service is going to improve and continue to expand for the people in the homes that you operate. And that's what we're all in this for, right?
Exactly.
Obviously, a lot of groups are starting to eye new states. How are you looking at expansion outside of Ohio in the new year?
Matt, I'm not a proponent of expansion and growth just for profitability or for growth's sake, but I am a proponent of like-minded organizations coming together to create something stronger and bigger, to create efficiencies and effectiveness. We're going to emerge into a world that's even more competitive than before, with scarcer resources, because we're going to have to pay off all this debt. And on top of that, the cost of doing business, to just, the technology and the infrastructure you need to compete at that level is more and more expensive. So to me, this is the time to look at expansion. And one of the greatest ways to expand is through collaboration and affiliation. So I would say this is a great opportunity to do that, a great time to look at that.
Well, I think that outlook is well supported with everything that's going on in the industry right now, and a number of groups saying, you know what, maybe it's time that I let go. And those collaborative opportunities will only continue to multiply.
Absolutely.
All right, Patrick, on to our third and last topic, adaptation for 2021, for all the lessons learned in 2020. What are some of the programs that you've implemented in the last year that otherwise we're not on the high point of your radar? You touched on telehealth. Are there any others that were just forced to the forefront due to the changing landscape of the past 12 months?
Well, again, I keep going back to the pandemic as an accelerator. Our organization has been pushing for whole person services for quite a while, trying to, we've integrated behavioral health into our IDD services and autism services, social determinants of health with, housing and all those other support systems. The last key to all this was health services, medical services. So what we are going to be doing in 2021 is becoming a federally qualified health center, an FQHC. And what will be unique about us is that we'll become the second in the country that focuses specifically on the population of people with disabilities and complex needs. So this will kind of close the gap then of these families and people with disabilities who are so at risk with health and dental services and such high level users of those services when they get into them. So by us being able to create a dental clinic, a medical clinic, lab services, pharmacy services, and then integrate that into all of our other services and then coordinate them, that's a win-win because you get better services, you get more efficiencies, you get more effectiveness to serve families. And we're just very, very excited about that. So we'll be implementing the startup of that this year and applying for the full FQHC status by the end of this year.
That's wonderful. How long has that been a project that you all have been working on?
About 5 years to get to this point where we'll be doing the startup.
Well, how exciting. Congratulations to both you and your team. That is quite the undertaking and very impressive. Listen, anyone that's listening can tell you've been around the block a little while and you're a seasoned veteran. So well said.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, that's it. We're out of time. Patrick, thank you for being here. It's been a pleasure. Everyone, thank you for joining us. And we look forward to seeing you on the next episode of Topics of Impact. Have a good day.
Thank you so much, Matt.
See you soon.